Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
We made it. We actually made it. We made it to football season. It seems like I'm dreaming. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Nope, it's actually here. The Philadelphia Eagles will take the field on Sunday. Now, there's not going to be anyone in the stands, but I don't care. Okay, there was limited fans in the Houston, Texas, Kansas City Chiefs game, and I was okay. I think I'll be just all right without any fans. I just want to see the birds run out on that field, and I could see Carson Wentz running out of the tunnel, and I could see Doug Peterson maybe with a visor on and the good old headset. I am just juiced right now thinking about that happening 1 o'clock on Sunday. Goosebumps. I have goosebumps. Oh. Now, before we kick things off, I do have some great news for you. I am now working with BetQL. And we have a pick'em pool sponsored by BetQL. The link is in the description. You can join. We will be giving away all sorts of prizes. Weekly prizes. This week, it'll be New Era. And a grand prize. If you win the grand prize, we are talking about a bracelet from Rosnov Jewelers. That's right. A championship bracelet. It doesn't get much cooler than that. So make sure you check out the link. It's in the description. And while we are at it, why not hear a word from my sponsor, Orbit Energy and Power? We got to pay the bills. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure that your solar project is completed easily and properly by using high-quality materials and trained professionals. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So check out their information. It is also in the description. I'm not going to lie, that Texans-Chiefs game, it definitely got me pumped. Not that it was the most thrilling thing in the world, but seeing football on my television screen, it's essentially a milestone in 2020. I would have never thought that it would happen. After the baseball debacle, I didn't know what was going to go down when it came to a sport without a bubble. But they seemed to figure it out. They seemed to make sure all the testing is proper. They went through all the proper protocols, and football is in action. Seeing Pat Mahomes run around and Andy Reid with the whole face mask debacle going on, and watching Deshaun Watson struggle without a DeAndre Hopkins to a degree, right? It's not like he had that lethal weapon that he could rely on from the wide receiver position. I was sitting there numb almost. Honestly, it felt like I was numb to what was actually going down on the screen. Now, it didn't help that next to my big screen I had on the Phillies game, and I watched them blow a 63 lead in the 8th inning to the Miami Marlins, and I don't want to think about that moment ever again, so maybe I was stunned with that as well. It was a combination stun. I couldn't believe the Phillies bullpen did it again, although shame on me because I should have believed it, and then I couldn't believe that football was on my television. But I do know that it is Friday morning. And on Friday morning, we do one thing around here. We talk football. It's a football Friday. It's been so long since I said that, but it is a football Friday. So let's get into this. Let's get into this matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington football team. On Wednesday or so, I put up a podcast about just the general Eagles team and how I felt about this team. And I looked into the matchup to a minor degree, but now it's time to really soak it in on what's going to happen this weekend. And I'm not going to lie to you. I am worried about the offensive line. I am actually concerned about the offensive line. We know that Lane Johnson has an ankle injury. Well, what if he can't plant that foot right? What if he can't properly execute in that game? And I expect Lane Johnson to play through the pain. I expect him to battle through it. It seems like that's something that he always does. But what if he has too much pain? What if he can't plant and it's pretty damn clear that he's getting waxed, that he's getting burnt, that he's getting beat? And then they need to make some sort of change. Well, the alternative is someone who has zero NFL experience. And then let's move to the other side. Jason Peters. You can't sit here today and go, he's going to play the full game. He's going to play every snap. It's not reality. It's not what he does at this point in his career. So who is going to play those snaps? It might be limited. It might be just a handful. It might just be barely any, but barely any is enough for Carson Wentz to get rocked, to get hit. And realistically, it looks like Jordan Mailata might be the one. Like, that's the thing. Is it Jordan Mailata? Before Jason Peters moved over to left tackle, which, shocker, he got more money. Don't even get me started on the whole antics of how it looked when it came to Doug Peterson. Oh, Jason Peters walked into my office. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't hear any story about him wanting more money. I never saw anything like that. What's this story? Shut up! He wanted more money. The Eagles caved because they had no other option, and they paid him more money. To be fair, it's not like it was record-breaking or anything. It jumped up to $4 million guaranteed with the ability to be an $8 million contract. So it's not insanely brutal to the Philadelphia Eagles, but I just can't stand the way that it looks. The optics, the way that it looks, it's ridiculous. But going back to the left tackle position, before Jason Peters slid over, they were saying that would be Matt Pryor. Well, does that mean if Jason Peters has to take snaps off, that Matt Pryor would move from right guard to left tackle, and then you would insert someone like Driscoll or Nate Herbig to the right side? It sounds ridiculous to me to be throwing people all over the place. It doesn't make much sense to start moving guys. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. But can you trust anyone at left tackle? Can you trust any alternative at left tackle? The answer is no. I can't trust them. If Jordan Mailata, who's never played football before, has to go in for 5 snaps, guess what? I'm nervous for those 5 snaps. You don't think Carson Wentz gets the ball, he's sitting in the pocket, and he's not thinking, oh no, I need to make sure that I'm aware of what's happening at my backside. Because there's a chance that I'm getting smacked. Let me roll to the right side real quick. Or they just try and run it. So it doesn't give Wentz the option to really get hit that hard. Hand it off. But would there be lanes properly opening up? And I am scared of the offensive line. Because Sweat can do some damage. Because Chase Young is lethal. Because Kerrigan's in the rotation. If that offensive line can't stand, you're going to have some issues. We are so accustomed here in Philadelphia to have an offensive line that's extremely dominant. That's one of the best in the league. That can control the outcome in games. And at this point, I think you are taking a major step back. It doesn't help that the other side is filled with talent that can totally control an outcome. They can change games. Now, Jalen Reagor practiced fully on Thursday. You thought, hold on a second. You heard there was some speculation that he would miss a couple weeks, and then the couple weeks started to subtract, and then it was like, hey, maybe they'll just hold him out for week 1, and he'll be active for week 2, and he'll be able to get back on the field then. Right now, it's up in the air. But him practicing fully is showing, it's telling, it shows you that it might not be out of the question. I bring that up because if you can beat the defensive line somehow, get the ball out quick and give it to one of your playmakers. Well, Jalen Reagor is going to be one of those playmakers for you. He's going to be active. He's going to be maybe in the slot, maybe on the outside. He's going to have speed. So if he is playing, he's going to be someone that's very active out there on the field. And maybe can get it to one of your playmakers and beat that pass rush that they're going to bring hard and that they're going to bring to the table at a high rate. And with Ron Rivera, a defensive-minded guy, I expect that defense to be a different type of defense. They're going to be even better than they once were. Now, I think you can beat them in other ways. Their front is what is their most powerful weapon. But with the Eagles, that has been one of their most powerful weapons throughout their last handful of years with Jim Schwartz, and you can see how effective that is. It's not like the Eagles have had such insane talent in their secondary. Yes, Malcolm Jenkins, but he's been declining. We are so pumped for Darius Slay for a reason. They have thrived. The Eagles have thrived with defensive line play. So with the Redskins, they can do that. Sure, they can do that. they have the talent to do that. So that's the big matchup. The big key matchup is in the trenches. Not that that's breaking news. You win football games that way at any level. It starts in the trenches. But this one specifically, I think we are so used to seeing an elite offensive line. And now you just have a good offensive line. And can a good offensive line hold its own against a talented defensive front that has unique skills, that has an unbelievable skill set? The problem for me, though, isn't really the starting offensive line, although it is. I mean, Jason Peters has taken a step back. It's more so what happens when JP needs to leave. What happens when these depth guys have to go in there and play? Because there's going to be a time where that's going to happen. You have to face reality. Now, I should have said this from the jump, because I do look at this team with more concerns than I feel most do. I think they win the football game. Right now, the last I checked, the Eagles were favored by 5.5. I think they win the game. I don't know if they cover. I don't think they cover, but I think they win the game. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be ugly. You're going to be upset with the offense at times. It might stall. 3 and out. Maybe only 1 first down, and then you're punting. I don't think it's just going to be a special offense where they take control and just dominate. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough. There might be some mental toughness involved as well, where, yo, fellas, we should be creaming this team or not. It's a one-possession game. Let's go on this drive and put it away. Maybe that's what happens late. So maybe they do cover super late in the game, like it's a 3-point game late, and then, hey, fellas, come on now. Bear down. It might be one of those moments, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be one of those games where you're on the edge of your seat. It's not feet up, relax in the rocking chair, put your feet back on the recliner, push back and enjoy a couple cold ones. It's edge of your seat, maybe 5 inches from the TV with your arms folded in the third quarter, looking at what's happening, looking at the scheme that Jim Schwartz has there, looking if he's playing the sticks on a crucial third down play. You're going to be feeling that butterfly feeling in the stomach. But ultimately, I do believe that Carson Wentz and this team is going to close it out. I don't expect it to be where the Redskins are up fourth quarter and you need some epic comeback from the offense. I don't expect it to be that way. But I do think it's going to be a score where you're sweating it out. Your gut is giving you that woozy feeling. And then afterwards you go, whew, all right, they better clean some things up. They better get back to the drawing board. They better get some more flow. That's how I feel it's going to be. Miles Sanders. I don't know where he's at right now. He was a participant in the Thursday practice. We'll see what happens on the Friday practice. But if you look at the forecast, it's going to rain, so it seems. Do you want to put Miles Sanders out there with his injury right now and risk anything? Here's the other thing. On Thursday, Corey Clement was on the injury report. Well, that's no good. Why? Now you got 2 backs on the injury practice report on Thursday? You can't be having that. Now, I think Miles Sanders I think the original report probably made it seem like it wasn't as big of a deal as it was. I'm not saying it's some major deal to the point where you're never going to see Miles Sanders, but I do think that there's something to his injury. I don't think they're just sitting him out. They're letting him hold out for a little bit. I think there's something to it. And maybe they're concerned about playing him here because you don't want it to snowball into something else and have it linger. I will say I'm a little afraid of Miles Sanders when it comes to that soft tissue stuff and hamstring stuff and all of that nature. It does concern me that he's someone where I look at him and I look at what has happened so far in his career and I go, yeah, you're probably going to see that. You're probably going to see that. And is that just the nature of what the NFL is like these days? Is it just the nature of the running back position? And because of the training camps and the lack of practices, is that just how sports are at this moment? I guess you can relate it to that. You can correlate it to this is just how it goes in 2020. Soft tissue injuries, hamstring injuries, you name it. It's all over the place. but it seems to be something that's happening with Miles Sanders, and it is a little bit upsetting. Do they need him to win? I would go with no. With Deshaun Jackson, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who they are really raving about. They are really excited about. Apparently, it is very, very noticeable, the jump from last season to this year. It's clear as day that something was bothering him so much last year that it affected his play. That he wasn't able to be someone out there on the field that he is used to being. So I think that there's enough weapons without Miles Sanders, but it does change a lot. His current status is up in the air. And I mentioned how with Jalen Reagor, if he didn't play, it ruins my excitement for the game because I want to see what this offense is going to look like. And losing a weapon like Jalen Reagor for the first week, which is not confirmed yet, by the way, and him practicing yesterday fully leaves me more optimistic. But missing out on him is like, damn it. Missing out on Deshaun Jackson, like you did last year, we saw what it did to the offense. It completely changed the entire identity. Well, Jalen Reagor is that type of impact. Miles Sanders has that type of impact. And I don't expect both to play. I'd be shocked. Maybe it does happen, but I do feel like one of the two will not be in the lineup. And that does ruin my excitement level because I want to see full throttle what it can look like. I want to see what formations Doug Peterson has in his brain of his. I do think they have enough talent, though. And I mentioned Zach Ertz. Oof, this is getting kind of ugly, huh? He states publicly that he doesn't feel the feeling is mutual when it comes to this contract stuff. And Dallas Goedert, it's not making it any easier that you have Dallas Goedert in the mix. And I wonder if, at this point, Doug Peterson would like to utilize a little bit more 11 personnel. So do they only want one tight end, one legit, insane, highly talented tight end? Of course, they need more on the roster, but is that a road they want to go down? Are they willing to pay Zach Ertz that much money? Well, there seems to be right now a difference between where both parties are at. You look at Travis Kelce's contract and you look at George Kittle's contract. Well, it looks like Travis Kelce's contract is where the organization wants to go down that road, while Zach Ertz wants more of a George Kittle type deal. At his age, is it worth all that money? When the Eagles are clearly in cap hell because they keep restructuring deals and pushing money back, which they had to do again to get Jason Peters in play with that contract. Lane Johnson had to construct some things. With Zach Ertz, do they want to go down that road? And it does seem to be ugly right now. It also seems like they're going to figure it out because it is Zach Ertz and it is the Eagles organization. He just seems like a for-life kind of guy, a guy who's always going to be in that uniform. When you look up the history of the Eagles, Zach Ertz is a no-brainer type of player that you look at where it's, wow, an all-timer in this organization. But at the same time, there is a bit inside of me that thinks, well, maybe with the speed of these receivers, a John Hightower, a Quez Watkins, a Reagor, maybe they want to go down the road of, let's go with speed. Let's go 11 personnel. Let's go with 3 wideouts and 1 tight end. And then you have Miles Sanders. Like, let's go a different road. The league is going tight end heavy, but it's also going speed as well. So you can utilize the tight end position like the rest of the league does by only having one and still having high flyers surrounding him. I think Doug Peterson is a smart enough coach to figure out both, right? If he has 12 personnel, then fine. He can use 12 personnel and be effective. If he has more wideouts and only 1 tight end, he could be effective. I just wonder, what direction does he really want to go in? Do they want to shift? Do they want to change the offense? Well, at that point, you got to make a move. Do you want to move on from Dallas Goedert? Or do you want to pay Zach Ertz a ton of money at his spot? It's a tricky situation. By no means is it easy. But to see Zach Ertz so emotional about it and so publicly emotional about it, it's something that you're not used to seeing. Keep in mind, it's not so much about this season. It's next. And will he hold out? Will he demand more money when this season's over? And then you really have a problem on your plate. You have a Malcolm Jenkins situation all over again, but this time it's with Zach Ertz, where I think it's a harder decision. Zach Ertz, Carson Wentz. Look at that combination. Security blanket's an understatement. Although I think if Dallas Goedert played the same spot that Zach Ertz did, and he was the only one out there, he would be a security blanket for Carson Wentz. It's not like Zach Ertz is the only security blanket ever that could possibly work out with Carson Wentz, but it just really is an interesting thing to look at. All right, I mentioned Carson Wentz. Can't wait to see him play. I just can't wait to see him in year 5 and see what he brings to the table. He's so fun to watch. Am I going to be a little anxious when it comes to him getting hit? Probably. I don't know if that's ever going to go away. Although with Joel Embiid, not to tie the Sixers into this because they upset me so much, but there was a time where Joel Embiid was injury prone, and then you kind of stop thinking of it to that degree. Maybe that happens with Carson Wentz. Maybe he goes a full season, although we did last year. 16 games, no injury, and then, of course, it happened in the playoff game, and then the whole conversation gets sparked up again. He did play 16 regular season games last year, but he's going to have to fight through this entire season without any major injuries at all. But this is why I get so annoyed with the conversation. If that had happened in week 2 and he was back by week 5 and he played the rest of the season, well, then the conversation isn't that way. Oh, he's so injury prone. He got knocked out at the end of the season. Players miss time. Quarterbacks miss time. There's plenty of quarterbacks that play 13 of 16 games, 14 of 16 games. They get banged up in week 5. They're back by week 7, and then they go. That hit by Clowney, Carson Wentz, if that happened in week 5, maybe he's back at week 8, and then he plays the rest of the way. It just sucks that it happened at that time. And then, of course, with Carson Wentz, it likes to get thrown down people's throats that he is someone who just can't ever stay healthy, while he does have a lot of games under his belt in his 4 seasons. But I digress. It is something that happens. Regardless, it is something that happens. He does get injured. I think it's overblown to an extent, but at the same time, I get it. It is there. I just can't wait. I can't wait to see him go out there and compete and see him run out of the pocket, make an unbelievable throw as he's rolling to his right, and it's just lethal down the sidelines in between a couple DBs, and it lands perfectly right in striking distance to any of the receivers. It's going to be just awesome seeing 11 in shotgun, talking to his linemen, talking to the guys. Seriously, gives me the chills. Now, defensively, I wonder what it's going to look like with Schwartzy. He now has a corner who you can shadow other players' number ones. How is that going to play a role with Terry McLaurin, who we have seen toast this defense before? How is that going to work? What's Darius Slay going to look like? And is Avonte Maddox going to be able to hold his own as a smaller DB? Roby Coleman in the slot, but it starts with one thing. And I touched on this with the Washington football team, the pressure. The pressure on the quarterback. And there were games last year where they didn't play very strong. There were games where it was against the Jets, and the Jets barely had anybody, and then they were playing, their third stringer, and it was a complete nightmare. But there were plenty of games where you couldn't generate any sort of pressure. You weren't able to move the pocket at all. You weren't able to get to the quarterback, and that was an issue for this football team. So we need to expect a lot out of Brandon Graham, out of Fletcher Cox to be a force in the interior. Malik Jackson. You have the Hargrave injury. I would love to see him next to Fletch. You need to find a way to move that pocket and make Dwayne Haskins uncomfortable. Who the hell is Dwayne Haskins? I can't believe I'm going to say this, but if you want to go look at last year, somehow, some way, he looked good against this Eagles team. He didn't look good against essentially anybody, and then here comes the Philadelphia Eagles, and you have yourself Aaron Rodgers 2.0 somehow. I mean, I had to do the whole wipe the glasses, wipe the eyeballs thing, and realize that, oh, wow, that actually did happen. That was a reality. Okay. So get in on him. Piss him off, get in his face, and make him know every time he hikes the ball, uh-oh, Brandon Graham's coming, oh, no. Make him just chuck it up. hoping to find McLaurin. And then the Eagles get an interception, baby. Let's get some takeaways, huh? Let's get some turnovers. Let's get some interceptions, please. This team doesn't generate enough when it comes to that. They don't generate enough interception. Go out and make a play. Go out and be a ball hawk, will you? Be a ball hawk today. I wonder if they're going to target the linebacking core, though. If there's a spot on the field that you can really focus in on, if you're the Washington football team, it's the linebackers. Can you find ways over the middle to get a ton of grass to work with? Can you get an open field in that spot and utilize some weapons in that area and create a mismatch of your liking? But that's where the whole pressure thing comes into play, because if they're going to wait for something to open up over the middle, well, then you're going to allow time for the Eagles to get that pressure. But seriously, there were plenty of times last year where it was very underwhelming with the defensive line, and that's their bread and butter. That's how they win. That's why you go out and get a Hargrave, because you know that is why the Eagles have been so successful under Jim Schwartz. It's about beating the other team in the trenches. It's about going up against the opponent's offensive line, doing what you need to do, bursting through, creating a bunch of controversy in the mix, and getting some pressure around the edges. If Fletcher Cox is getting double teamed, that opens up room and that opens up space for others. But you have to do it. So offensive line is a big concern for me. Well, the Eagles' defensive line, based off of last year, I thought that there were some slow games. They need to be a factor, a big factor, to make Dwayne Haskins. I'm sorry, I got Deshaun Watson on my mind because of the Kansas City game, as I got some highlights playing on the big TV in front of me. You need to get Dwayne Haskins uncomfortable. I'm sure he's going to be a bit nervous. I know he has starts in this league, but you got a new head coach, you got a new atmosphere, it's a new season, it's game one. But also maybe that benefits the football team. Maybe it does, because they don't have anything to lose. They're the underdogs. They're not supposed to win. They're not favored. Can they go out there with a loose, free mind and just go play football? And sometimes that benefits teams where there's less pressure. Isn't there more pressure on the Eagles? You would say, yes, there's more pressure on the Eagles. You can't start out the season 0-1. But how many times am I going to say this? There will be a time where the Redskins or the Giants beat the Eagles. You're not going to just go through every season and sweep them. Now, I don't think it's game one where that happens. But guess what? If it's game 2 against the Redskins this year, you know how important that game is. It's the last game of the season. So let's hope it's a Giants game if it's any. And if it's this year, it's got to be a Giants game, because that could be the difference in making the playoffs or not late in the year. There's no reason to go that far down the road right now, though. Super stoked. I am super, super stoked. Philadelphia Eagles football is here. I watched the highlight video that the Eagles tweeted out with Deuce coming out of the tunnel, right? And he's speaking. He's watching some highlights in the stands, in the empty stands. I was watching in the shower. Yes, I'm a shower phone guy. And I was crying. I was literally crying in tears like, oh my God, I can't believe it. That's how emotional I feel about football being back. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.